You ready? That's Steve. How are you?
Well, I got the. Where is it?
I was up there last night. You're fancy. Here, last, I don't know what things. It was, can you remind me of?
Yeah.
That's actually in our section. I got you guys. Kristen is the dark haired one. I can't remember. Oh, it's not like it.
We kind of have a little bit of focus tonight, so I'm gonna get started as soon as possible here.
Oh my God, real name's Kristen, but her staging is.
Everybody ready?
She's trying to be crazy.
Whatever you're ready.
I thought everybody.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting of the Madison Public Schools Board of Education to order, and please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, first line on the agenda is our school community session and public participation. And if we have anybody in the public who wants to talk, then Emily has a little.
Yep.
You wanna
So,
go over first.
yeah, we welcome any members of the public in person or on Zoom to speak at our meetings. We ask that you identify yourself by name and your address. We do limit comments to 3 minutes. We're happy to hear from our community, but at a public meeting like this evening, it's not expected that we have a conversation. If there's any follow-up, you will be contacted. If you're contacting us on Zoom, we just ask that you raise your hand and you will be called upon. Do we have anyone in person who would like to speak? And do we have anyone on Zoom? If you'd like to speak, raise your hand. Okay.
No takers.
Thank you.
All right, next item up is the superintendent's report. Dr. Phil.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Kluskin. As the board is aware, each September we report out on our hiring for the year. One of the areas we highlight is our efforts to diversify our workforce. The board has recently updated its policy 4040, which is increasing the educator diversity plan. And the state of Connecticut is requiring districts to also submit a plan to the state of Connecticut. Heather Dobson, who is a little under the weather, but I know is online. If we have questions for Heather, is available to be promoted to answer those questions. She has led the charge in creating the plan that has been provided to the board. It is on the state's template, so the state provided us a template to complete. But I credit Heather with her work on this plan. She worked closely with the district administration, and it's also been shared with the Teachers Association. She's consulted with other surrounding districts, and really put a lot into the plan, beyond just filling out the portions that the state required. So it is required that we present this to the Board of Education. So we wanted to do that tonight, and then present that to the state. There is a chance that we could have to make revisions based on the state input, because this is the first year that it's being required. And so what we asked, rather than bring it back, I would inform the board of any changes we would make. If there was anything you disagreed with, we certainly could then bring it back in front of you. But we just didn't know how many revisions it could take with the state. Didn't want to have to continue to bring it back to multiple board meetings. Said Henry was available to answer any questions. It's pretty standard what we have been doing. I think we've done a better job of putting our efforts out there, going to more job fairs. Gail also goes to a lot of job fairs, as well as our principals. I think our issue a lot of times with job fairs or earlier recruitment becomes we don't know, or we don't have enough openings that we can say to somebody, we guarantee you a job early on in the school year. So I'd love to be able to go out and recruit elementary teachers in in September and October, but we don't know, even if we had a retirement announced that early, if we're gonna need that position. So it's very difficult to do some of the things that are happening in the state. Very early recruitment of teachers, earlier than I've ever seen in my time because of the teacher shortages, but we're still, continuing to get a good pool for most jobs. And we're, like I said, working hard in terms of trying to diversify our workforce.
So, a couple things. First of all, I'm just curious, and this may be a question for Heather, where the vision and theory of action statements came from. I find them to be spot on and kind of very parallel and in keeping with our district mission and our goals. So I was just wondering.
I can answer that,
Yes.
if Heather's not able to. Yeah, so that came from our equity committee. We actually met, Heather brought it forth to the committee and we did some, couple revisions and versions of it, and that came out of that group.
That's great. Thank you.
Sure.
Another thing that I wanted to just quickly mention is, I think we face a little bit of an uphill battle in teacher recruitment when it comes to trying to diversify our recruits. I think naturally we're very homogeneous, and we're perceived to be, even though we have had some diversification, but fortunately. But we're perceived to be a very homogeneous district, and that could make some recruits potentially uncomfortable committing to come and teach, especially when they're young, when they're just getting their feet under the ground teaching to begin with. To be surrounded by, folks that they're not accustomed to being around, it could be uncomfortable. And then another issue is probably, we don't have a lot of housing to house like a young new recruit who would need to pick up and move to this area in order to teach here. So I personally have been supporting, and not on behalf of the board necessarily, but personally I have been supporting the efforts in town for housing diversification and some affordable housing, because I do feel strongly that it will help to attract younger teachers and potentially more diverse teachers to come and benefit our students and benefit themselves as well. So just a couple thoughts I think, at the ending there, but this looks great. I did review it in advance of the meeting. It looks fantastic. So thank you. Good work. Thank you, Heather. Feel better. And thanks to the committee as well. Okay,
Check the question. Roughly, how many student teachers does the district entertain?
That's out of my office. So we usually get 4 requests a year, maybe 5. And Heather's been instrumental also in reaching out to our colleges and universities to see if we can attract more student teachers. But we at least have 4 or 5 reliably a year. Some stay with us longer. And are employed also as building subs after they complete their student teaching. And some move on, but we have a pretty healthy group. It's always nice if we read it.
I can say, I serve as I've worked as an adjunct professor at Sacred Heart University and oversee student teachers. And I had a student teacher here in Madison. And I can tell you, they really want to work in Madison after they spend their time here. So it's,
One of the reasons I asked the question.
yes,
Yeah.
so if we could get, a more diverse pool of student teachers, I think that would be a wonderful way or an inroad into diversity.
Absolutely. I think what is daunting is what Dr. Cook talked about. We just don't have the openings.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so they have to hang in there with us. So we try to provide some other opportunities if we have postings, but we definitely benefit from our student teachers.
We will have an opportunity to vote on this later this evening. And we're not necessarily voting on the plan as much as voting to give the administration the ability to go back and forth like Craig described, with different iterations to, till the state is satisfied with the final version.
Sort of both, right? We are voting on, yeah.
Approving it as is and then submitting it. Now, I happen to think what we're submitting is superior to what I've seen from other districts. But we've also submitted things to the state that are superior to other districts in the past and not had the best result. I'm sorry. Yes,
So when you made this plan up, were you together with the other, because this was discussed at Learn,
yes.
so I wondered if you all got together and.
I know Heather had some discussions with fellow HR directors. I talked about it at my Learn meeting with other
Yes,
superintendents, and I know some people looked at our plan pretty closely.
so then they're all not the same, I
They're
thought.
not all the same, no, it's the same template, but not the same strategies or missions.
Well, I mean, each district is.
Yeah, and they should be, you're right, yeah.
Any other questions or comments on that?
Just a comment. I think for the benefit of the public and just in general. This obviously is more than just trying to meet a state requirement. There have been enough discussions, I believe, from the board level that a more diverse, faculty is one of the goals that the board supports.
Thank you.
Next time, and I know, we're on a time crunch, I think Seth was gonna, we have the room till only about 6:15 tonight, so. This update would probably be, normally lengthier, but I know we have some, pretty big items on the, agenda tonight as well. So I just want to share real quick on the building project. We have been working to also, line up Colliers for a more detailed update. We have some dates already set in stone for March, so we're looking at April 2nd for the board, which should be good timing because we'll have even more to report than we do at this point. But I just wanted to share with the board in the public that our building project is nearing the phase where we'll see actual work occurring. Actually, I drove by on my way to Jeffrey this morning for a meeting, and there were 3 trucks and several crews out there walking the property. So that's really exciting after so many months past, the positive referendum, we're finally seeing some work, and that's not to say that there hasn't been so much work occurring. Now I want to thank the school building committee for everything that they've been doing. They've been meeting pretty much every Monday or every other Monday, since then, and done incredible work to date. The major bid packages have been awarded, and I think that's one of the groups that were out there this morning. So we've locked down prices on concrete, steel, plumbing, HVAC, electrical, and site work. So when you think of a building that's the big major pieces, so we're really pleased that these bid packages came in under the allocated amount of money for this work, and so positive news in our timing with that. And so we're very excited that at this point we still remain on time and on budget. So it's great news to share. And as I said, we're going to April 2nd for a very detailed update on that. And if you have any questions, I can bring up the bill or try and answer them now. But we're looking at so I was working with Colliers to look at a groundbreaking, which is maybe late March, early April. So we're trying to tie down a date on that, and we'll let the board know as soon as possible. Okay, thank you.
Any questions on that?
Awesome.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Craig. Is there any audience response to the information presented? Anything online? Nope. Okay, thank you. So now item number 5, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Wait, who moved?
I moved.
Emily and
Have a
Diane.
second.
Okay.
Oh,
I didn't say Kathy.
Thank you.
Sorry, it's
I got Kathy as the second.
I've got something to say under discussion.
No, wait.
Yeah,
Okay.
any discussion?
I know. Just a comment, I think it would be easier to like at a glance understand these transfers if under account name, instead of it repeating the number, if it actually just said what it is, like for instance, object 56220 is electricity, and 54300 is repairs and maintenance, and 51121 is instructional paras, and 51210 is substitute teachers. Instead of under account name, it having the numbers, if it had that, then like I wouldn't have to go to the expenditure report and look up the numbers and figure out what's going on. It would just be easier for me, and I would love that. That's my comment.
So I can see if they can put that into the comments, because I think that's the only field that's. You know, that
Yeah,
they,
anywhere is good.
yes, so I can see if they can put
Yeah.
that in the comments.
That'd be great.
The town munis generates the report,
Yeah.
or the financial system, it's put out for, that's how.
Well, I don't like it.
Then if the comment goes on longer, does it cut it off? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's what I was worried about, okay.
Saying. Yeah, that's about.
Okay, all in favor of the motion to approve the consent agenda, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you. Now we have action item number 7, which is a motion to adopt the increasing educator diversity plan and authorize the superintendent or superintendent's designee to execute any necessary revisions. This is what Dr. Cook just presented during his report. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Emily?
Second.
Thank you. That was by Diane. Second, thank you. Any discussion or questions? Discussion?
I have the utmost faith in our administration, the state not so much.
So, all right, any other comments, discussion? Call it to a vote. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you very much. It's a good report. Thank you. Or it's a good plan, I should say. Action item number 8. We need to discuss and take action to approve a name for the new pre-K to 5 elementary school. I would like to take a motion.
Make a motion.
Emily,
Second.
seconded by Diane. All right, so now we have discussion. The way I'd like to handle this is maybe start on this side of the room and go around and have everybody say what's on your mind. Now, just to preface that, we did have a committee that met, the ad hoc new school naming committee. Kathy served on that on our behalf. Craig and I were both ex officio members. They did a lot of work. They got a lot of input from the town. A lot of really good input. Everyone was engaged on this. You know, I'm sure people have their personal favorites, and so the committee, the ad hoc committee, ended up voting to advance 3 names for our consideration. And so I just want to go around the room, have everybody comment on your thoughts on whatever name you prefer, something you don't like, and whatever your thoughts are on the topic. And then after that, I'll entertain, I'll entertain the motion to vote. So, Stephen, did you want to start us off? Sure. I think there were a lot of good offerings, and I appreciate the work that the, committee did, and I'm sure it was extensive work to sort through all of the suggestions. My personal preference, I'm trying to think of young people and identifying with the school as the neck river, and for a variety of reasons. One, I just think it's a pleasant sounding name for a school, and one that's easy for young people to remember. I personally, have some affection for some of the history of Madison. that goes way back to the Neck River and the whole oyster industry in this town. You know, has a very long, tradition and, you know, that was attractive to me, but I, you know, I look at some of the other options, you know, I look at the Hammonasset, we have had a Hammonasset school in town, you know, it's got its own history. And, you know, my personal feeling is leaning away from identifying it with individuals and, you know, something that's more generic. So, thank you. That's my preference.
My preference would be Nick River. Basically for those same reasons, and because I know there were a lot of people's names that were put into the mix, and after we had discussed about Ryerson and Jeffrey, I just felt like Nick River would be an easy, nice thing. And plus people that I spoke to, a lot of people in the, you know, around town have said that they like that too.
I'd like to thank Kathy and the committee, my favorite network.
I favor Neck River as well, and one of the things I'd like to point out is that the Neck River is the only of the 3 rivers in Madison that has its source and its mouth all contained within our town. So it's unique in that regard. It runs right through the property. It's contiguous to the school property, and you know, I just think, you know, when kids go on little field trips outside to the water, that's the river that they're learning from and seeing out the windows. And so I just, you know, I also think there are other Hammonasset named things, especially our state park in town, and you know, so we definitely have found ways. I know that some people that were promoting Hammonasset were interested in promoting our pre-European past in town. And I think that's wonderful, but that's done in certain places already. And also I think Hammonasset is kind of a mouthful and hard to spell for elementary age kids. So for those reasons, and the only other thing that I would say is we got some tremendous nominations of some people who the town owes a great debt to for the wonderful things that they've done. Sometimes in the area of education, sometimes not always only in the area of education. Even though there were some names that got a lot of backing, there always seemed to be an equally large contingent of commenters from the public who were concerned about naming a school after any person. And they felt that that was kind of an old practice and can also, you know, cause controversy. So I think for all those reasons, I agree with that. And I would like to vote for Neck River as well, Neck River Elementary School.
Everybody was. So I obviously I don't have a vote. I didn't have a vote on the committee, and I was glad I didn't have a vote on the committee because there was very difficult choices. So what I would say is that it was incredible the information that we received on the individuals even before, and especially on Taffy Bose that was shared with us. And so that was one of the most enjoyable pieces of the whole process. Was learning about somebody who I never had an opportunity to work with. And then I felt, you know, so compelled I did go over and meet with Taffy because it's just the impact she had on so many people's lives that are now educators themselves. That was just really amazing to see. You know, but I think that what has been said by our 4 board members already does encompass what I've been hearing along the way as well. And I think Neck River Elementary would be a great name for an elementary school, but I do want to pay honor to the people who came out and shared information, but also the people who are nominated.
I agree with everything that has been said. I was looking back at the presentation that the committee gave us, and their requirements for that. The name is unique. It's specific to Madison. It's relevant to the kids. Like you said, it's right there in the backyard of the school. It's inclusive. And from my understanding of the design of the school, there are some water elements, ecosystem aspects in the design of the school, which I think is neat. And I was also thinking even where I live in town, which is not near Neck River, there's signage that's been put up about, you know, the Neck River watershed. And so I also think it will bring attention to other areas of town and the impact. So for all of those reasons, I also support Neck River.
Wow, it's all been said. I want to thank the committee as others did, because I would have been happy with any one of the three. I think they were all wonderful. But for all the reasons shared here today and feedback that I've heard in the community as well, Neck River has bubbled to the top for me as well. So that would be my vote.
So I actually thought there were a lot of good names and I was glad to not be on the committee. Especially from the elementary school students, I really enjoyed some of their names. But I think it's important to give heavy weight to the committee's work and the three names that they're proposing. And, you know, I agree with what has already been said. There was a Hammonasset school already. Hammonasset's difficult to spell. And I really personally don't like the idea of naming another school after a person. I would say though that as a board, I would like us to consider using the names of the two elementary schools that are going away in some other aspect to continue to honor them, perhaps naming an auditorium or some other, you know, large part of the facility, maybe the gymnasium, you know, something to continue to honor them since they were in the past honored. And even, you know, consider, I'm not like your name everything, but, you know, consider, you know, if we do not choose the Marguerite, you know, Beau's name, that maybe that would go on, you know, something else. You know, just to make sure that we're not leaving out, you know, significant individuals. And that being said, I also favor Neck River.
So, everything that has been said so far, I'm tie it up in a bow, I guess, but, I do want to say, based on our data, I don't think our kids would have a problem with Hammonasset. I'm just gonna say, as a literacy person, I think it's a great phonics opportunity. And I do not discount the fact that those kids would be able to spell Hammonasset, so I'm gonna take that off the table. I do appreciate so much the evening we had where our town came out and had an opportunity to speak on behalf of their choices, and I thought that was such a great meeting where there were differing opinions and people brought different names and sometimes opposing, and it was still such a really lovely meeting, and I loved learning about how people felt about each of their choices. So it just made me proud to know that our town is so invested in our new elementary school and what it would be named. So I really loved that evening. I really love the fact that our kids had voice and choice in this as well. The opportunity to, you know, give their opinions and back their opinions with reasons why. And they learned, it was a great lesson for them. And when they enter that building or those grounds for the first time, I think they'll really have a stake in it. And I think that that's so important for kids to give them that that sense of efficacy. So just wanted to say that. And I was honored to serve on the committee, and I learned so much about our town and about how much what a difference people have made in service of kids. And so I'm not going to say Hammonasset is not a great option. But I also think Neck River is great too. So I would go with either one and be happy to say either one.
I just want to make one other comment. I just wanted to thank the individuals who did email the Board of Ed members with their opinions and why they backed whatever name that they chose. I just wanted to let you know that we do read them, we do take note of it, and we thank you for your communication.
Excellent point. Thank you. All right.
People that we've spoken to.
Yeah. So at this point, I'd like to entertain a motion. Somebody,
I'd like to move that we name the new school, the Neck River
elementary.
Second, I second.
Okay. All right, hang on, let's so. That was for entering discussion, so now for naming. And then, sorry, just taking notes. Elementary school. Okay, so now we have a motion by Galen, seconded by Mary Ann, to name the new pre-K to 5 elementary school building Neck River Elementary School. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of Neck River Elementary School, raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Congratulations, we have a new school. Thank you all. Okay. Moving on to item number 9. You have an action item. I need a motion to rescind the following, this is pursuant to the policy committee, the next couple. I need a motion to rescind the following policies. 9800 school board member services, 9810 new board member orientation / handbook, 9820 board member development opportunities, 9830 board facilities and services.
So moved.
Motion by Diane, second by Maureen. Any discussion?
Just a note that these are 9,000 series, so they require 2/3 approval by the board.
Okay. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Okay, also from the policy committee, action item 10, I need a motion to waive the second reading and rescind policy 5120.5 social services.
So moved.
Motion by Diane, seconded by Maureen. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you. Also from the policy committee, action item 11, I need a motion to approve policy 5090.4.2.1, Pledge of Allegiance.
So moved.
Moved by Diane.
Second.
Yeah, after we get the second by Kathy. Thank you. Okay, any discussion?
I'm just confused. I just want to make sure that the pledge of allegiance will be available, like we stand for the pledge of allegiance. It's not really changing this, right? So this is just meaning that I'm a little confused.
Yeah, it's the new formulation, and please, Diane, correct me, or add more if you'd like, Maureen. Or in the
On the
policy committee, but the new formulation guarantees the right. It requires the schools to provide a time so that people can recite the Pledge of Allegiance,
which they do now.
which they do now. If people choose not to pledge, to do the pledge, then that's up to them. But it guarantees the right for people to say the Pledge of Allegiance.
This is to make us in compliance with Connecticut General Statute.
Right, so they're just redundant, is that what we're saying here, these things that was pressed?
It's just being replaced with a model policy, correct?
Yes, there's
Yeah.
nothing substantive changing.
Right,
It's just being replaced with Jane Goodman's model policy.
Right, it's because it's stated almost identical, I believe, to the Connecticut General Statute, instead of it being in, general prose.
Yeah.
This is straight from the statute. This is what the Connecticut General Statute says, and we have it modeled in our policy.
Thank you. Good question. Any other questions or comments on this discussion? Seeing none, I'll call it to a vote. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you. Action item number 12. I need a motion to approve a donation from the Jeffrey PTO to Jeffrey Elementary School in the amount of $4,500 for student activities.
So moved.
Second.
Stephen and Diane. Thank you. Any discussion other than, wow, that's great, thank you, Jeffrey PTO, you're chugging along with these awesome donations.
Just thank you and perhaps just a word of, I guess, caution. As the elementary schools are being phased out, I think they would want to, I'm sure they know, just to be cognizant that if you want your money to follow your students, to just be aware of when you're donating and like empty the coffers. I think.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay.
Thank
Any other discussion? Any questions? All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you. Action item 13, I need a motion to approve a donation from Steady Photography to Ryerson Elementary School in the amount of $1,407.24 to support student activities.
So moved.
Second.
That was Kathy and Diane, thank you. And again, I think that's their modus operandi, that Steady Photography takes a portion of the proceeds from their profits and donates it back to the school. That's a wonderful practice. It's greatly appreciated. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you. We have action item 14. I need a motion to approve a donation from Scholastic Books to Ryerson Elementary in the amount of $4,117.55 to further enhance classroom libraries.
So moved.
Second.
Diane and Maureen. Thank you. Maureen. Again, I think this is a practice of Scholastic Books. I know that our kids read voraciously, and that large amount, 4,000, in excess of 4,000, is a sign that our kids are buying and consuming books, which is a wonderful thing. Thanks to Scholastic Books.
And also a shout out to, the volunteers that run the Scholastic Book Fair. I've done it myself.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work and it's very gratifying to see the excitement over books.
Yeah.
And oftentimes they set up little, each teacher gets to choose books for her classroom, and the PTO will go ahead and make sure that books are donated specifically that the teacher needs. And I think it's an amazing way to be specific about books that are needed and books that kids can't wait to read. So I love it.
The only thing I would add is I remember I used to love the book fair, and I used to love the weekly reader from Scholastic.
Oh,
Do they still have that? The weekly
they-
things like-
They do.
But it's costly
Oh, it is.
and it's
Yeah,
A little dated.
yeah.
a little, yeah.
Well, anyway, thanks to Scholastic Books for that. That's wonderful. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you. So we have a motion, action item number 15. I need a motion to approve the disposal of used books and equipment. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
From Diane?
Second.
You know what, where they going? I think we talked about this sometime before. Where the books go.
Well, there's not very many and they're really old. So they're,
I just want.
yeah, there's an attachment.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's very old books,
Very
damaged, very old books, they're damaged,
Oh,
old.
just, oh, you know,
The
I-
biology ones, yeah.
Yes.
It's actually before they, they're from before they had discovered the atom, so.
My time.
Yeah. So, okay. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you. Action item 16. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the January 23rd, 2024 Board of Education meeting.
So moved.
By
Second.
Diane, seconded by Kathy. The only thing is, I don't know if we need to change this, but I just want to note that there is an outdated reference in here that we were going to vote on the name of the school at our February 13th meeting. It's on the first page, 2/3 of the 3/4 of the way down, the first bullet point under superintendent's report. the very last part of
I
the
think that
first
stays though,
bullet.
because that's what we were.
Yeah, I think it stays, but I just wanted to note for the record that we had to change that only because of the bad weather on February 13th. And we voted tonight, so without amending it, anybody else have any discussion or amendments or anything for the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you. Okay, we saved our board member comments till the end this time because we wanted to make sure we got through all the business. Because we do have a 6:15 deadline to finish our meeting. So I will open up now to any board member comments.
So I did want to say something, I was
Yes.
trying to look for the name of the thing. Yeah. So it was brought to my attention that there is there's an organization that's called notevenonce.org. And they talk about how fentanyl is killing our kids, and it's not, you're not talking about kids who are, you know, addicts or users, you're talking about first time trying and dead. And they're an organization that, you know, you can contact and have them, you know, come and speak to your school. And I know that we already do some of this, but I think that you can never emphasize too much what's going on with fentanyl in our country right now. And especially timely, I think this time of year when we're close to celebrating proms and graduations and just reminding the kids, you know, that stay safe and just they don't even try once because you could end up dead.
And don't try other drugs either because they could have fentanyl in it.
We had talked about this, I talked with Craig, and we've talked a lot about trying to get Demand Zero in here, which is a local organization who does, she does amazing work, trying to get a presentation, which I thought if we did it through the school board to start. I know that she's gone to Polson, but she's not gone to Hand.
I think it's just really timely right now.
Yes,
As
I
we're approaching
agree,
the
I
end of
totally
the year.
grabbed and talked for 2 years.
Yeah, I can see where some people might feel that the way the message is conveyed can have a political tone to it that is not necessarily unbiased. And that could be problematic.
In what way though? Did you see the movie?
Yeah, I saw clips of
And you
it.
thought it was a political?
I thought that there was a good deal of political rancor.
Well, I mean, there's many
Yeah.
organizations out
Politics.
there. We don't have to use, you know, one over the other, but I think that
It's in our curriculum now. It is, that movie's in our curriculum.
but I guess my point is just that to really drive home the difference in today's, you know, drugs as opposed to, you know, when we were in college or in high school. And it's just that, you know, the drugs coming into the United States are already cut with fentanyl, and it's not consistent. And it's in everything from, you know, fake Percocets to
Spice.
anything, you know, and it's not, you know, even when you talk about marijuana, today's marijuana is not the same as it was when we were in college or high school. It is way more potent. And I think that we just really need to drive home that message that it's much more dangerous than it used to be. You know, you might hear the stories of, you know, in the 60s and 70s and all that, you know, peace, love, hippie stuff, but this is not the same thing. This is an entirely different beast. And I think that that we really need to drive it home, especially to our high
I
school.
saw the presentation that
I did
that
see,
Lisa does, her presentation,
I did
not
see
the
it,
movie,
not
her
recent.
presentation.
Oh, no, I haven't been into the
Because
school.
she went to learn, she has come to learn and put the presentation on for the schools. They also did a webinar where the students, our students weren't able to do it because they had
Exams.
right, and so they didn't make. So we do have the resource, we just need to, I believe, just like you do, get it out there and get it out there all the time.
I'm gonna be clear, I have no problem with Lisa, I know she does great work on this, I have no problem with you know, finding appropriate resources and driving home this message. In fact, I think this is every bit part and parcel and impacts the student health and wellness, mental health and wellness, and social emotional learning that we've been focusing on so much as a board. You know, especially not only, I mean, you can't educate a student who's died because they tried, you know, marijuana that was off the street and it had fentanyl in it and they died, you know, God forbid. But even apart from that, the very intense formulations of marijuana and THC that are out there, consumable these days, are being found scientifically to cause psychological damage to kids and cause anxiety, paranoia, and some other things. And, you know, one of the big things that we're trying to address through our board's work, our good work, so far has been the anxiety and depression epidemic. And, you know, some of that may be driven by, you know, use of today's formulations of extra potent marijuana, so, or THC. So, you know, I definitely support, you know, us continuing to provide adequate opportunities for our students to learn about this stuff. I know we do it, we have done it. And I don't know, Craig, I don't know if you want to weigh in on this at all, or.
Yeah, I think as Mary Ann said, we've worked to make sure it's available through the health classes. The Polson event was for the whole community. It just happened to be at Polson Auditorium, and it was unfortunate that the students couldn't participate in that statewide day. We do also have programming through Madison Youth and Family Services, so I wanted to share that. I will have a conversation with Mr. Salvatore and see if there's another way to look at this, and I'll report back to the board in terms of some of the more.
There's a edited version, so we can take a look.
It is in the curriculum as a resource,
Right,
the
that's
edited
awesome.
version, and we do address it in the curriculum, both at middle school level, drug use, and also high school level. So there are complete units on it. And the health teachers, I have to give them mad credit because things change all the time. And you can write a curriculum and then a week later, something new is on the market and they have to address it. They're very nimble and they're very aware. And they are very thorough. They do not back down or apologize for having that discussion with kids. So it is definitely there. And I also want to add, you know, just that our curriculum is actually being highlighted at a conference in April, and our approach to wellness as a whole. So we're doing a presentation for NASC on April 4th. So it's definitely well developed, I will say that. That being said, you know, how often you can say something and have every kid hear it, you know, never know.
I think that, you know, when you present it, to present it in different ways each time, so that you maintain the interest and they're not like, oh yeah, I've heard this before.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, so they don't have a picture.
kids wouldn't do that, you know,
Yeah.
tune you out.
That's a good discussion to have. Thank you for bringing it up, Diane. Mary Ann, thanks for always banging the tambourine on that as a former school nurse. I know that it's very close to your heart.
It's
And
just what you said, the drugs, even fentanyl's terrible, the worst.
yeah,
But the other drugs are so much worse than they were. And it just one right, and just like you said, so much stronger and powerful.
Any other board member comments? I think I would like to just mention for a moment, and we do have time before our 6:15 cutoff. Just a little update that we're still working through advocacy efforts to try and ensure that we can get an accommodation that does not require us to purchase a very expensive K-3 reading program to supplant our you know, very highly developed reading program that we've developed in-house. So that we will keep on top of, and we will continue to give updates as appropriate. I will say that the CABE, Connecticut Association of Boards of Education Day on the Hill is, I think it's Tuesday, March 13th. If anybody, Steve is gonna be accompanying me so far, but if anybody else wants to sign up, you can sign up until March 8th. So clear, if you can clear your calendar and we can, carpool up. The more folks we have there, the stronger our advocacy. And that's the number one thing that not only we plan to hit, but also CAVE has graciously made that one of the two main focuses. One of the three main focuses of Day on the Hill this year. It's the reading waiver for the right to read legislation, the kindergarten cutoff implementation, and whether that can be spread out over a few years, and her student funding of education. That's always a big one. But education and some back and forth, I think, infighting between the governor and the legislature's budget concepts for how much to fund like ECS and a couple other things. So which is educational cost sharing. So if anybody else is interested, please let me and Zone know. Superintendents are invited as well. I'm sure you have a lot to do that day, but if you're interested, or certainly Gail, if you're interested, we'd love to have you as well. So
I saw some people look at calendars. It's Wednesday, March.
That's a Wednesday.
You have a date, right?
Yeah.
Day of the week.
Yeah.
Wednesday, March 13th.
Yes. Thank you. All right. No other board member comments? Okay. Yes, go ahead.
As far as the waiver goes, as far as when they deny it, what do they say, why?
So the most recent letter was really kind of doubling down on the first one of just saying that the legislative language does not allow for a reading program that's not one of the ones that they've approved. So they've gone through and approved. They call it 16. It's really a core group of, say, 5, 6 different programs, and they're allowing districts to pick different ones, so different combinations thereof. So it's not really 16, it's more than like 5. They say results aren't considered in that, although they say the reason they're doing this is for results. So we kind of get caught in this kind of circular argument or discussion with them. Gail has been phenomenal, as you know, has committed so much of her time to this. The most recent direction we've been given is to say, show us how you're implementing the 6 different areas of science of reading. And Gail had done that before from the beginning with a chart. Our coaches have been amazing. Our teachers have been great. Gail and I are going out this week. We had planned it before even getting it ended up being Saturday morning because it came late Friday night. Before we got that weekend news, we had already planned to talk to our teachers, because we have, but we haven't like formally met with the 2 staffs of the buildings, and felt it was time, because we were always waiting for some more information. We wanted to hopefully deliver a good message. So we met with Jeffrey staff this morning. We're gonna meet with Ryerson, I believe, Thursday afternoon, and we'll share it. They're asking the same questions as the board's been asking, like why, that what we're doing is working, and Gail created some charts that give them that reassurance, like what we are doing is working, and the interventions you have in place for students who may not have achieved that at the end of 3rd grade, so we know those students, and we have plans, and they have ongoing plans. And so we're frustrated. We're not defeated. We're certainly keeping up the work, and I shared with the board that I had written the state earlier in the week to say what's the status, because it been past the time frame. The response actually was, you should be hearing from us very soon on a meeting. And we didn't get an offer of another meeting, we got a denial. So even just a day later, that was Thursday, and that came out Friday night. So I think that we still have the legislative option, and we still have other options. We're just working through those. And I know Gail's created a presentation for the curriculum committee, and so we'll have you know, I encourage, you know, all the board members that can attend that, to attend that. Because that will be,
March fifth.
yes. Yeah, I mean, we only have till 6:14, but is there anything major I missed that you want to share or?
We're looking for a common sense answer and there's no one.
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
based on results, but it's not based on results, but you want to
Yeah.
get better results, but you have good results, but that makes no difference.
Because they have a goal.
You know, it's really
It's not
interesting
about-
when you look at state approved universal screeners, which we use. And they have posted on their website a threshold from the Reading League that would indicate that an 85% success rate for students in each of the areas would indicate proficiency, and that's what the waiver asks for. So when we disaggregate our data by each of those areas, we are 85% proficiency or higher. Yet some of the areas that they said we did not meet are even close to more of a 90% threshold. So that's the universal screener, and of course our test scores are very good too, so I don't know, I really don't understand, other than to go back to subtleties in language, or whether they want more of a scripted approach for teachers to say, because that's what programs do. But I would argue that our teachers are implementing their training and they're doing it very well, and our disaggregated data shows that. And we've had 3 outside audits from other experts in the field, three independent studies, all that have validated our work. So it's concerning, and especially because I don't see an increase in achievement if in fact we change our pathway. So I do want to be clear that we have 2 programs that we've adopted. One, Foundations for Phonics, and phonemic awareness is met through Haggerty. So we do have some packaged programs that we use, and we use them for those 2 areas. It's really the areas of vocabulary, fluency, comprehension, and rapid automatic naming that we have actually developed our curriculum. So I like to call it locally developed. We have a locally developed approach. We use many resources to get there, and they're very effective. So it's but I think, you know, I think it's going to be interesting to watch and see what happens to districts that are struggling with getting the waiver. I don't think we're alone. But I do feel that our teachers are very hardworking, very proud, and are showing their effectiveness. So that was our message today.
So, you know,
Reassuring them, like, you're doing the right thing, here's how we know.
I will say Cave has been right on top of this, you know, I know Seth has spoken quite a bit to the Cave Board of Directors, and by 10 o'clock in the morning, Jeff Curry at the, you know, at the state level had received our letter. So, you know, they shared it in a group with CAPS and Cave, and Cave sent it right to Jeff Curry. So I don't think that was I'm pretty sure that was the result he was not expecting if you watched his comments to the Cheshire Board of Ed. So we're hoping to hear something soon. And also John Michael Parker and Christine Cohen have been incredibly supportive and responsive.
It seems like we are caught between the Department of Education, which is one of the governor's cabinet agencies, and the legislature, and even the chair of the House chair of the Education Committee, Jeff Curry, has, you know, been open about the fact that you know, the legislative intent of the Right to Read Act, as it was passed, was to specifically allow a meaningful waiver to districts that could show that they are employing science of reading methodology and that they are achieving results. We fall into both of those categories. We satisfy both. We are the most highly ranked district in the state right now on the Schools Accountability Index, which takes into account, you know, reading and other test achievement, but also other things. And all 5 of our eligible schools, we're the only district to have all of our eligible schools named as schools of distinction. We have incredibly high reading success scores. And, you know, it's just very clear that the Department of Education is ignoring its own policy of being data driven. They require us to select from certain testing, certain tests, and we employ the tests that they want us to employ, and we grade highly in them. Our students grade very highly, and now they're just basically throwing out those results. It's very frustrating, but I think the advocacy is going to go beyond just the legislature moving forward.
Or if they just change the language, just make an amendment to the education committee.
There-
Change the wording and pass it.
Yeah, it seems easy, but there is a large coalition, one of the big, heavy hitter, coalitions in the legislature has been working in close coordination with the Department of Education. And I think
It's not hard.
It's
Just change the language and you pass it. It's really not that.
but they're afraid they can't get it passed, I think is the problem. Yeah, there's a large caucus that's kind of behind this, and I think the Department of Education is taking the position that if we don't enforce this with every single district, we're not going to get the result we want of buy-in across the state, and then it's gonna always be like, oh, well, Darien and Madison and Weston, and they, how come they're, not doing it, and why do we have to do it too? So I think they're just,
Results.
yeah, they're going overboard, and I'm hoping through continued advocacy, we can swing that pendulum back to a reasonable position and keep our curriculum. So that's where we are.
The teachers union, the CEA, has really been really vocal in the past few months and has been really hammering away. And they're a huge voice as well. I know legislators want the teachers union on their side, so I know that's going to be really helpful.
That might counterbalance the caucus that is driving the rigidity right now.
And I think there's a light that is definitely shining on the State Department of Education, where they need to,
Yeah.
So
Look, it's a shame, because the last thing we want to do is make a pariah of ourselves. We want to cooperate. In
Yeah.
general, the right to read legislation can be very helpful to a lot of districts in the state. But please don't drag districts that show tremendous achievement into it and force us to abandon what works locally, what's been proven to work locally. That's really what this is about. It's symbolic of the unfunded mandates that districts often face from the state. So we're getting buy-in from districts who have not necessarily been denied a waiver either, because they see that this fight is more universal.
Yeah. And there are some
part of what I've been trying to point out at Gabe.
some districts didn't even write a waiver. They decided not even to create a waiver and to sit back and just accept what the state is offering and pick one of the.
Yeah.
And that is also, I think.
It's
not-
learned
not
helplessness.
responsible.
It's
Yeah.
learned helplessness.
Yeah.
In response to this, so. All right, well, I wanted to give that little update, but thank you all for your interest in this, and if anybody else can join Steve and I, on the journey up to Day on the Hill, that would be great. Item 18, any requests for future agenda items? Hearing none, our meetings and dates of importance are attached to the packet. Diane, are there any that are inaccurate?
Not that I hear.
Thank you. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Seconded by at 5:06. So
Vote.
5 p.m. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nay. Any abstentions? All in, that's nothing. We are adjourned. Thank you.